My name is Shxrpness, or Jack, and we'll be playing The Binding of Isaac Repentance. And we'll be doing a 7-character speedrun. Estimates about an hour. And then we're gonna get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
And joined with Jack are 2 commentators from the speedrunning community. My name is Zamiel. I'm actually the creator of the racing mod that Jack is using currently. And alongside me is Toooschi.
Hello, that's me.
Toooschi is a very talented speedrunner from...
All right.
So welcome everyone to The Binding of Isaac. This is a twin-stick shooter made by famous indie developer Edmund McMillen. And it's actually the most popular roguelike game in existence. So you might have heard of it before. In roguelike games, every time you play, you have to start with a brand new character, but you also get a brand new randomized experience. And to be clear, the individual enemies and power-ups are all carefully crafted by the developer. But the exact combination of all these things has never been seen before. So Jack has to kind of react to all this stuff on the fly. Yeah, that means that speedrunning a roguelike is different from speedrunning a roguelike like Mario or Zelda. So, normally beating the game is not that hard, but doing it as fast as possible is very hard. And so today, Jack will be playing a category called R+7 Season 2, which means that basically he has to beat the game 7 times in a row, and we'll get into a bit more of the details a little bit later on. But yeah, he's going to try to get this done in under an hour.
You're also going to see...
Go ahead, Toooschi.
I just wanted to already let the viewers know that they're going to see 7 different characters throughout the run. We're not going to spoil too much which they're going to be, but just one character would be too little for a whole speedrun.
So one interesting thing about this category is that each of the characters are randomized. So Jack doesn't actually get to know what character he starts on or what character he finishes on. And so this random character is called Tainted Azazel. So Toooschi, do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about how this character works?
So Tainted Azazel is pretty strong. He might not be as strong as the regular Azazel, since he has no flight or the huge short-range Brim attack. But as you can see, Shxrpness is sneezing a lot on the enemies by tapping on them, which not only damages them and pushes them away a little bit, but also marks them, and you deal a lot more damage to marked enemies. So you want to be utilizing that for maximum speed.
I'll probably be one-shotting this boss here. It's a pretty good start right now.
Ooh, and that's going to help too. Oh, you're not... So interestingly, so... No. Jack not taking the small rock item that he randomly got from the tinted rock. And the reason for that is because he didn't want the speed down from it. No. And another interesting choice, Jack had a choice between Maw the Void and Backstabber, and he decided to take Backstabber instead.
Yeah, the reason
I took Maw would be a little bit low. I don't want to die.
Yeah, Jack playing a little bit safer than normal. Maybe on a world record run, you'd kind of risk it all and take the Maw the Void, which is one of the most powerful items in the game and really increases your DPS by a lot. But since this is a marathon run, you're playing it a little bit differently than you normally would. Playing a little bit safer, obviously. But yet another devil deal here. But none of those items are worth spending a heart on. So Jack moves on to Necropolis 2.
But Zamiel, worst case scenario, if Jack dies during the run, what would happen?
Oh, so the category that Jack is playing is different from the normal game. In the normal game, if you end up dying, you have to start all the way from the very first floor again, basement 1, and like essentially it's like starting from scratch. But in this mod, it's kind of a marathon safe mod to where if Jack ends up dying, he would only turn into a ghost form, and then he would lose 45 seconds and then transform back into a normal again. And so it's still quite punishing to die, but it's not going to mean Jack starting all the way over from the beginning, which is nice for a marathon at least.
Now, something that I always had issues trying to remember which one was which. Looking at the hearts that character has, you have the red, the black, and the blue hearts. What do each of those mean? For those that might not know.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the red hearts are considered to be like the normal hearts. You can think of that similar to a game like Zelda, where you can, if you get hit, they get depleted, but then you can pick up heart pickups on the ground to fill them back up. And the black and the blue hearts are called black hearts and soul hearts, respectively. And those are more ephemeral in the sense that if you lose those, you can't refill them back. They're just gone forever. However, you can find more soul hearts like on the ground to get more soul hearts from scratch. But you can think of the red hearts as red heart containers, and the soul hearts as just ephemeral soul hearts, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there are, in the Binding of Isaac, there are 11 floors. And so Jack's going to be making his way through all the floors. Basically, there's not too much strategy in terms of your route. You can essentially just kind of want to go straight to the boss. You don't want to do too much dilly-dallying. And the reason is because you start each run with a random item. We'll get into a little bit more on that later. But on this run, Toooschi, do you want us to talk about the item that he started off here?
Yeah, the chocolate milk is not that is just allows him to shoot the Brimstone earlier or even fully charge it and deal more damage. But I think what's more interesting about this run is that Jack got the duality, which actually allows him to choose between angel deals and devil deals even after already having locked into devil deals. And usually in this category you just see speedrunners opt for the devil deals because the going underground is just such an important item. But Tainted Azazel has really good synergy with some angel deal items, so that's probably why we see Jack opting for the angel deals on this run.
I want Sacred Heart.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sacred Heart is the strongest energy in the game with a Brimstone style build like the one he currently has.
Nice, he gets another bomb drop. That means he also fully charges his active item, but we still can't find it.
Yeah, so no Sacred Heart here, but that's okay. The build is still quite powerful. Jack will make short work of the rest of the game. So at home, you may be a little confused in the sense that you may be asking yourself, hold on, wait a minute, why is Jack starting with chocolate milk? Chocolate milk is one of the most powerful items in the game, and he just started the run with it. That seems a little unfair. Like it's like easy mode, having to play the game with a powerful item from the get-go. And so the explanation for that, we see the same complaints over and over every single time kind of non-speedrunners see a Binding of Isaac speedrun. And so to explain that a little bit, what would normally happen if he was playing the complete vanilla game without any mods is that he would do what's called resetting for a starting item, where you hold the R button on your keyboard to reset the game really, really fast. And you do that over and over and over until you find a starting room that's attached, a treasure room that's attached to the starting room. And then if it's a good item, you take it and you start the run, and if not, you hold R and you do it again. And so the short of it is, to get a speedrun going, you have to sit there for like up to sometimes 5 minutes or longer, just resetting over and over, sometimes hundreds and hundreds of times, until you find a good candidate item in the treasure room, like chocolate milk or something like that. And so the point of the mod is the mod just short circuits that whole process. Like it's boring for viewers to sit there and watch the game be reset over and over, and it's boring for the speedrunner too to have to reset the game over and over. So the point of this category is you just give the player a random starting item, and it's like emulating the resetting process, but just getting rid of all of that. So it's not really cheating in the sense that if he wasn't quote unquote cheating, he would just be resetting the game and he would end up getting the same item that he would be getting anyway.
As you can
this looks like a new character.
Yeah, and now we have made our way to the second character of the run, the Forgotten. Toooschi, do you want to give us the lowdown on the Forgotten?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit real quickly to what you were saying about the instant starter. We not only get an instant starter, but each character also starts with the compass, which will decrease the time running around through the floors significantly, which is why this season is considered to be the fastest season out of all of Racing Plus categories.
No, that's actually a question I had, because I know that there's multiple different seasons. If you want to touch base on with chat, like what's the difference in all of those seasons?
Yeah, the idea of the racing mod is that like speedrunning the same game gets over and over, gets boring playing it over and over. So the idea is to kind of give speedrunners a new challenge every 6 months or so. Every 6 months, there's a quote-unquote new season that gives people kind of a new thing to speedrun, a new thing to do. And so Season 2 came out 6 months after the release of Repentance, somewhere around there. And the point of it is we're going to start characters with an item, we're going to start characters with a compass, and we're going to have the custom death mechanic that we explained earlier. And so Season 3 is slightly different, and so on and so forth like that. Season 2 happens to be the best season for marathons because the death mechanic just makes it really marathon safe.
All right, so the character that we are seeing right now is the Forgotten, which has a really high damage melee attack, which Jack is using a lot. Sometimes you can see him swap to the Soul form when he wants to move a little bit faster. Jack got the Himolacria starter, which is considered the second or third best starting item for this character. Only topped by Polyphemus, just because that's as strong as it gets for Forgotten. What is interesting with this character is that your HP bar is actually split up into your Bone Hearts for the melee form and your Soul Hearts for the Soul form. And if you want to take a Devil Deal, you can actually steal it with the Soul form. You just need to remember to swap back before the pickup animation ends so that you don't actually die.
Ooh. Yeah, Ooh, nice. Two little familiar helpers.
I'm not conjoined?
But Soul of Lilith doesn't count for conjoined as far as I know.
Oh, it's monster manual, that's why.
I'm also manual, yeah.
So the active item in the top left corner is different than a passive item you might see. On the right side of the screen, those are all my passives. But an active is one that you can charge up by clearing rooms. You can see that the book in the top left, it takes 6 rooms to charge it up completely. And then it'll give you a random familiar, like my little buddies following behind me are my familiars right now.
So if Jack manages to find another one of those familiars that are considered to be part of the conjoined transformation, he's going to transform and he's going to get a triple attack, which would boost his damage against bosses and regular enemies significantly.
Yeah, the triple attack really good with the Forgotten character in his Bone Club. Oh, nice. And now, speaking of transformations, he gets the Black Demon Leviathan transformation, which is pretty good. Gives him a little bit of health and flight. Flight is handy. But yeah, the character he's playing right now, the Forgotten, probably one of the most technical characters in the game. Very skill based. You're kind of doing a lot of inputs on him. You're switching between the two forms, the Forgotten and the Soul, a lot. And you even saw it in that last room. Jack was switching to the Soul in order to speed things up just very slightly. And it's like, yeah, it's a very technical character. It takes a lot of practice in order to get really good. So Jack's definitely doing a good job here, showing off all the mechanics.
And there'd be...
I
was gonna say, when you switch to the Ghost, the Soul, you can shoot tears like this. But the Bone Club is much, much stronger, so that's why you won't see me using the tears at all. And just sticking with the Bone. The only time I'm swapping is to go faster.
There's some situations in which the tears can be good. But yeah, as Jack said, it's very situational, and most of the time you just want to be using that big fat Bone Club.
Yeah,
if you want to be
starting,
yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, you say.
Our starting item was Himolacria, which is it's gonna make our club a lot bigger and stronger. If we didn't have Himolacria, then our Bone Club would be pretty weak.
So now Jack down to a single hit remaining. He's got to be extremely careful as he makes his way through the dark room here. Another thing we should mention is that the first run was to the chest, which is the upwards path. And on the second character, we're going down the downwards path to the dark room. And each character is going to alternate back and forth for maximum variety, which is really fun. Makes this category pretty fun to play because, you know, you don't get to not just go into the chest all the time. That can get dull.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
And so now we see the 45-second timer on near the left side of the screen. I guess we should. There's 4 timers on the screen. I guess we should probably explain those. So in the bottom left-hand corner, that is a timer created by the mod, and that just shows the overall runtime. We're at 14 minutes now, but the 6-minute timer right below it, that is for the current character. So you can think of that as like the current split and live split.
Okay.
And then the timer next to the S2 near the top left side, that is for the death timer that he's currently waiting on. And then if Jack holds tab, you can see yet another timer in the top left, and that has to do with the current timer of the run, and that is different. That corresponds to in-game time as opposed to real-life time. So that one isn't really needed unless you're thinking you're going to miss the boss rush or something like that. It's more of a technical timer, but...
So does the death timer increase, or is it always 45 seconds per death?
It's always just a flat 45 per death. Most of the time, speedrunners don't die. And the kind of the history behind that timer is it's for seated racing, such that people are doing 1v1 races against each other live. And then like if the run is like 10 minutes long and someone gets to like the 9-minute mark and then dies, then it's going to be kind of an anticlimactic ending. And like that's no fun, right? So we want to make it so that races are always kind of close.
Gotcha.
So that makes 1v1 racing a little bit more intense. Jack, I'm surprised you didn't go in the secret room there.
Yeah, I meant to. This map is very strange.
Yeah, so we can see another thing we should talk about is Toooschi mentioned earlier that every character is going to start with a compass, and that shows the boss on the minimap, which basically allows Jack to just go directly to the minimap. But it's not that easy, because sometimes you can get trolled by the compass, and by the icon you think the boss is to the right, but it's not, and you hit a dead end. And so what it really is the map kind of weaves its way through the special rooms on the floor to the boss. And so on that last floor, we saw Jack get compass trolled, and he went in a completely opposite direction and ended up clearing a bunch of rooms that he didn't necessarily have to. And so sometimes that just kind of happens with in this category when you start with the compass, and it's something you kind of have to kind of learn. There's a lot of skill in actually reading the map. It's really not straightforward. You can kind of learn the expected number of squares for each floor, which kind of each floor gets longer and longer. So near the end of the game, if the boss looks really, really close, and you know that you shouldn't be going directly to the boss, so in that situation, it's kind of interesting. I'm actually going to intentionally go away from the boss because it's going to wind its way around to the boss. Ooh, a huge pickup there. Teleport. Toooschi, do you want to explain that one?
Yeah, first I want to explain the next thing we should touch upon is next to the coin count, you can see a small little present icon, and that is also a Racing Plus exclusive. And it just means that if you manage to not take a single hit from enemy damage before you reach the Daffodil, as you can see here, you can take your first item for free, and then afterwards it's going to be regular costs. And that has been added into the mod because some characters just don't start with enough HP to take the first Daffodil, which kind of makes the run a little bit wacky. And this tries to balance the Daffodils out between the characters.
Yeah, like as speedrunners, we find it extremely unfair that like kind of the skill-based part of this game is you play flawlessly and then you get a devil deal. That's your reward for not taking any hits. But then if you start a character that can't even take a devil deal, it's like you played flawlessly and you get a reward of a devil deal, but you can't take it. Like that's pretty unfair, not very skill-based. So that's kind of just a small little balance change that Racing Plus does.
Yeah, and to get back to the active item that Jack managed to find in the item room in Basement 2, it is the teleporter, which allows Jack to teleport to a random location on the floor on a 2-room charge basis, which is probably one of the best active items you can find for this category. Since you already have mapping, the next best thing you can find is items that help you one-shot enemies and items that help you move through the floors faster or even skip the floors in general.
Ooh,
I noticed this character is... can you tell us a little bit about this character? I think the name was Kane that came across.
Yes. So Kane is one of the... He's a rebirth character. So he's one of the... I think actually he was a Flash character. So he's one of the most basic, one of the oldest characters in Isaac. And he's pretty simple. There's no crazy complicated mechanics. He has an eye patch. And he starts with the lucky foot. And so the lucky foot you can see on the right side of the screen. It's just a little foot icon. That item will give us +1 luck in our stats. So on the far left side of the screen, you'll see all my stats. And luck is the little 4-leaf clover. And luck doesn't really matter too much, but it can help with some things. And then he also takes positive pills. So I'm not sure if we've seen one on the run yet, but some pills can be bad, like make you take damage or decrease your stats, but Pain's pills will always be positive and helpful.
So in speedrunning specifically, a lot of players just kind of ignore pills. They generally just slow you down instead of speeding you up. Even in a casual run, I mean, I think a lot of streakers and kind of competitive players just ignore pills.
Also the
Actually,
start. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I've seen a few people in chat that, like, first off, commentary they're absolutely loving with how informative it is, and there's a couple people that are potentially interested in joining the speedrunning racing community. So, like, definitely touch on if you have like a Discord or a site that people can go to and kind of learn more about the racing scene for Repentance.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to the Discord in the chat, but in general, you just go to speedrun.com, search for Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and then the latest, a Deadeye. The latest version is called Repentance. I'll get into that in just a second. But if you search on speedrun.com for Binding of Isaac Repentance, then you'll find the link in the forums. It's a pinned post, and so that should get you started. And then there's more information in the Discord, or like how to start playing and good categories to start with. In fact, this is probably the best category to start with, because if you make some mistakes and end up dying, it doesn't really matter that much. You only lose 45 seconds, and so that's a really great beginner mechanic as well. So Jack picked up a Deadeye from the boss rush, and then he teleported out in order to steal it. And so that was a great pickup, and that's going to make Jack's build a lot more powerful, because Deadeye gives you a pretty big damage multiplier.
Also, Jack went out of his way there to visit the shop. He was probably hoping to find a soul heart there, since he's kind of running low on HP.
Yeah,
So as Jack makes his way through the womb, I'll talk a little bit about the history of the game, because we haven't talked about that yet. The original version of this room is so annoying.
How do you do this?
Bomb. Oh, you don't have a bomb.
Oh, okay,
Oh, there you go.
I got it.
That was
Like a little puzzle. Oh my
Yikes.
gosh.
Watch out for those spikes. Oh, that was an annoying room. But I should mention that the original version of The Binding of Isaac was made in Flash all the way back in 2011. But nowadays, people are probably more familiar with the remake, which is called The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. And that one came out in 2014. And since then, there have been 3 DLCs released for the game. Each of them make the game even more complicated. And the last DLC is called Repentance. And that one came out just a few years ago in 2021. And so this is the version that Jack is playing on today. And on top of that, Jack is playing with the racing mod that we've been talking about. And what that does is it just provides a little quality of life features, like the timer in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And it also takes you to the next character of the speedrun automatically without having to go back to the menu. So the racing mod doesn't really add any new content to the game. So everything in this run can be understood by people who have only played the vanilla game. So that's definitely worth mentioning. And then, so this, I would, what do you feel about this run, Jack? Do you think your build is pretty average?
It's pretty good, but it's compared to like my personal best for this, it's awful.
Yeah, so speedrunners have to grind for like really, really, really good RNG. So because like you have to think about, you have to get really, really fast and good RNG 7 characters in a row, and that's pretty unlucky. So it can take, you know, hundreds and hundreds of hours to even get the perfect speed run. So of course, Jack's PB is going to have the best of the best luck, and it's going to be a lot better than a marathon run. So this is a very interesting build. Holy moly, look at this. We got some C-section babies flying out of Jack's stomach, and they're exploding into bone fragments from the compound fracture item, I believe. Yeah.
If you talk about
So this is-
Isaac out loud, you might sound a little bit silly sometimes. Like that.
Yeah.
I'm just listening, going, this sounds. They're making this sound totally normal, and sure.
Wow. So yeah, totally brutalizing the final boss there, making short work of it. And now we're on the 4th character of the run.
So we are on
Fourth character
Tainted
is-
Isaac now. As you can see on the HUD next to the coins, you can see the items that Jack currently has. And that means that Isaac can only take 12 items with him at once. If you want to take more items, you're going to have to drop one of the old items. And as you can also see, whenever you find a pedestal, it is going to be cycling between 2 items. So you need to remember that and not just go too fast because you're going to take the wrong one on accident, which has happened to every speedrunner at some point.
Ah, interesting.
Oh.
So let's talk about what just happened. So Jack needed a key, so he traded a bomb for a key there, but then he had a choice. He could go into either the treasure room or the planetarium. And the planetarium is a new special room introduced in the last DLC, Repentance. And the planetarium has really, really strong items. Items that allow you to, for example, like Terra, that allows you to break open the door. And that would have been a fantastic pickup, and that's kind of why Jack went in there. But he didn't really get very good items. He got Luna, which is really not what he's looking for. But maybe he'll see another planetarium on the run, who knows.
He got Luna, but the second option was Jupiter, which is considered the worst planetarium item by far.
Here's the first Devil Deal, taking a Berserk. The first Devil Deal is probably the most pivotal point of the run. It's when you get your first like really big damage item of the run in most runs. And Berserk is kind of not what you're looking for there. Jack was looking for items like Maw the Void, Brimstone, you know, those big damage items that really make you fast. And so here, Jack using the Berserk on the boss, making short work of it. Yeah, so Berserk definitely going to help him out a little bit. But the problem is now it has to recharge back to full, and he's not gonna have it for a while.
Yeah, Berserk is a special active item because it doesn't charge by clearing rooms. It only charges by getting damaged or damaging enemies. And the active turns you into a melee form, which is a little bit of a spoiler for one of the characters that are still remaining, which is Tainted Samson. So we're gonna see more of Berserking later as well.
Yeah, this item is really satisfying to be able to just slash monsters right in the face. Guppy's Eye.
You can
Question in
see.
chat. Sorry. Why is Jack skipping some treasure rooms?
But in speedruns, usually you're only going to see runners walk into a treasure room if it's already on their path. Otherwise, you try to have a strong build without treasure rooms, and it's usually not worth your time to just go out of your way to visit it.
Yeah, so most of the item pool in a treasure room is like there's a great example, right? His 2 options are between the finger item and the juicy sack item. Both of those items essentially do very, very little. They will just an incredibly tiny amount of damage. So you think of it as speedrun in terms of time, right? The amount of time that finger would save on the run would be like a second or less. And the amount of time that a juicy sack would save would be like a second or 2. Like juicy sack's slightly better, but like both of them don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And like a lot of items are just like that. The big damage items are not coming from the treasure room. They're coming from places like the planetarium. They're coming from the devil room. They're coming from the angel room and the boss items. Those are the tears up items, the speed up items. Those are the items that are actually going to make you complete the game faster. So it's not, you can think it also, maybe you can think of it in terms of an investment, right? you would have to invest time to walk to the treasure room and enter it and then exit it. And it's just not, the payoff from the item is not going to make up for that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very tanky champion enemy there. These guys are called Psy Tumors. Very fun enemy.
Let's see here. Another question really quickly is the mod with the item descriptor allowed?
For speedrunning, no. And the reason is because it actually allows you to cheat. It allows you to see what cards are when they're on the ground before you get the chance to look at them. And so that would save you time, obviously, because you could just, instead of having to pick up a potential card that could be good, you could just see that it's a bad card and then move on to the next room. So for that reason, the external item descriptions mod is not legal for speedruns. But I think if you play this game a lot, you will learn what all the items do. It doesn't really take all that long in the grand scheme of things.
Also, most speedrunners use an external item tracker anyways for the Twitch streams, which not only shows the current seed for the run, which is very important for verification, but it can also show a short description of an item after you pick it up so that your viewers know what it does.
Yeah, excellent point, Toooschi. Yeah. Oh, too bad Jack doesn't have a bomb for this room. This is like one of those annoying rooms that usually bomb out of.
Looking pretty rough right now.
So I guess that's one thing that we should mention is that, so in the last downloadable content that was released for this game, one of the cool changes that they did was that they improved the damage of battle bombs by like a lot. And so now it's like really, really good to use your bombs as battle bombs. But in a speedrun, it's still a little bit better to just use your bombs to bomb out of rooms. And so you'll see that throughout the course of the speedrun, Jack will be using most of his bombs for that purpose. Ooh, a guppy transformation. Wowee.
You can also see Jack using Soul of the Lost there, which turns him into the Lost for one room. And if you use it in Everdale, it's going to allow you to steal an item basically for free without having to pay any HP for it.
Yeah,
So that was a great deal.
Yeah, so Jack got 3 guppy items, which allowed him to quote-unquote transform into a cat, the cat of Guppy. And that makes a whole crap load of blue flies that you see on the screen, which deal a lot of damage. And so, yeah, you can see his build. Oh my gosh. He made short work of that boss. His build is significantly better than it was like 30 seconds ago. So yeah, kind of a stroke of luck there. Oh, and you're going to bomb through. Hell yeah.
Oh.
He got the moon stress.
No.
He doesn't have enough bombs for it, unfortunately,
Oh,
though.
that is so unlucky, dude.
Yeah.
If he had one more bomb, he could have bombed right to the boss. That
yeah.
is unfortunate.
Guppy not only made this build stronger DPS-wise, but it also made it way safer now because he has 9 additional lives before he gets into the ghost form that we saw before.
Yeah, that's what the dead cat item does, is it? It's a defensive item that just gives you 9 lives, which is quite good. You'll essentially, once you have 9 lives, you essentially will never die.
I should go take the other bomb so this doesn't happen again.
Very smart thinking.
Yeah, so getting Guppy is actually extremely unlikely, so this is quite a treat for the marathon to happen to randomly get Guppy like this. And if you're an old Binding of Isaac player, you may be thinking, that's weird. Guppy's actually pretty common when I played the game. But over the course of the past, like 5 years, more and more items have been added to the game with every subsequent DLC. And so nowadays, there's just so many different items that getting Guppy is so rare, like because of all the item pools are diluted and inflated.
I think
Which
there's
not
like
only makes it harder to get Guppy, but it also makes speedruns way harder in general.
Yes.
I think there's like 700 items in the game total, right?
Oh wow.
A little bit
More
more,
than
yeah.
that. More than that, yeah, around 750. And here we are on the 5th character, Tainted Samson.
Alright, perfect. It's exactly the character which we were talking about earlier, which also has like the Berserk ability, but this time you can't control it. You don't have to press spacebar to turn into the melee form. It's going to happen automatically once the little circle fills up.
And the randomly assigned starting item that Jack got is Godhead, which is actually not normally in the treasure room pool. So that's kind of a fun little addition. And Godhead is not as actually powerful as you think, because in the last DLC that was released, it was actually heavily nerfed, such that it no longer scales with your player damage. So it just deals the aura, the holy aura that comes out of your tears. That just does a flat damage, which makes the item still pretty good, but not as good as you'd think.
Also, it's a pretty unfortunate starter for this character because it doesn't really do anything while you are berserking. And it also provides you a small tear rate down, so you're going to be swinging your club a little bit less. So you would have preferred to see Godhead probably on a different character than Tainted Samson.
Yeah, there's nothing Jack can do about that because the item assignments are just completely random. But that's okay. You know, you kind of just gotta make do with the randomness that you get. Ooh, and a Succubus. Succubus is another one of those items that was nerfed in the Repentance DLC. In the exact same way. Previously, it used to deal the black aura that's attached to the Succubus would scale with the player damage, which meant it was really, really strong on speedruns. We were getting these huge damage runs. But now it's just a flat damage aura, which makes speedrunners very, very sad. But that's okay.
It's still a good item, but it's only really good if you can spam a lot of tiers. Then you get the maximum value out of the Godhead.
Oh, another thing we should talk about that we haven't mentioned is, do you want to talk about why Jack sometimes is going to the downpour floor?
Oh yeah, so the downpour floor is a new floor that has been added. It's an alternative route which has been added in the Repentance DLC. And when Jack has an additional key after basement 2, he will sometimes go down because on average it is going to be a shorter floor. And if you manage to see the item room, you could also take the question mark item, which is just a hidden item. So you basically see 2 items instead of 1 item. But the main reason is because the shop floors are considered to be shorter.
Yeah, so you just save like a few seconds from having to do like 1 or 2 less floors, for example. Or, excuse me, not floors, rooms. I meant 1 or 2 rooms, yeah.
A question I keep seeing pop up in chat is when it comes to them, or the fact this is a 7-character run, is it completely random as to which 7, or is it like random from the whole pool?
Oh, that's a good question. So the 7 characters are set. So Jack knows that the roster, the lineup will be a set 7 characters, so he can plan the strategies beforehand that he'll be using. But the order in which they're assigned is completely random, and so that's different with every run.
Yeah, the set of characters is always season specific. And there's also only a list of starters that Jack can get in this season as the instant starter. It's not going to be every item that exists in the game.
Right, it's a set of only the good items, basically, that speedrunners can use to get to beat the game in a consistent way, so to speak. And then earlier we were talking about how there's different seasons, and that's part of the quote-unquote content changes in each season, is that it gets boring playing the same characters over and over. So part of the new seasons is that we switch up the characters each time as well.
Makes sense.
Especially now in Repentance that there's a painted version for each character. It opens up a lot of possibilities for character combinations for each season.
True. We saw there Jack getting slightly compass trolled. He decided to go left instead of down, and which was correct, right? Because when the boss is 2 squares down, 2 squares left, 1 square down, then going left is optimal. But he just got unlucky there. Oh, and there on the screen we can see another quality of life feature of Racing Plus is that it keeps track of your pills for you, which is kind of nice. You don't have to remember that. As a pill identification UI.
Thanks, Zamiel. Very cool.
Also, probably one of the nicest changes from Racing Plus is not only that you don't have that it automatically skips cutscenes, but you also don't have to wait for the death animations of enemies that you kill before you can leave the room, which makes the runs significantly faster.
Yeah, that's one of the most annoying things about speedrunning the vanilla game. It's just kind of having to sit there and stare at the screen while you wait for a really long boss animation to finish. Yeah, really annoying.
And not many people speedrun Vanilla Isaac just because of how a 7-character run is around hour and a half.
Oh,
And
wow.
like we said earlier, you can be just holding down your R button for 5 minutes at a time. And you're at the mercy of RNG completely.
Yeah, not fun. So it's like, yeah, an extra 30 minutes involved with like resetting the game over and over, watching cutscenes, and so on and so forth. Whereas 7 characters on Racing Plus takes around an hour, so like half an hour less. Who likes cutscenes, am I right? Not me.
Right?
So we have an interesting question why Jack sometimes goes negative and sometimes goes Polaroid, and that is also Racing Plus specific. Usually if you want to go to the dark room you have to take the negative, and if you want to go to the chest you have to take the Polaroid in vanilla. But here it's not the case, so here each speedrunner can make their decision on their own. Do they want to have the damage that the negative provides, or do they want to have the defense from the Polaroid?
And that's done just to make it have a bit more strategy, because it would be kind of silly if, for example, you were required to go down to the dark room, but you accidentally picked up the Polaroid and you lost your run like that. That would be kind of an unfun, silly way to lose your speed run. So the paths are set and don't have any requirements to prevent you from ever making that kind of mistake. And then it becomes more strategic, right? Like, do I want the defensive power of the Polaroid shield, or do I want the offensive power of the extra damage that the negative gives you? Oh, that's one thing we should mention, is that in the latest DLC, Repentance, one of the changes is that the negative now gives +1 damage, and historically it has not done that. So that's actually one of the great changes of Repentance, yeah.
Yeah, before Repentance, most runners would have opted for the Polaroid, especially because orbitals were so much stronger, but also risky. And nowadays, most speedrunners just go for the negative because of the damage up.
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about orbitals a little bit. So most of the changes in the Repentance DLC were quite good. They have a man named Kilburn who is in charge of balancing the game, and he's very knowledgeable, and a lot of the changes he did were really, really good. But one of the changes that was kind of annoying for speedrunners is that orbitals are no longer as powerful, and that's kind of the key skill-based thing that distinguished speedrunners from our non-competitive brethren. And we were really, really good at using orbitals to just mow down everything in the room. But now with orbitals not dealing as much damage and being harder to use and having smaller hitboxes, it's kind of a shame, because now you won't hardly see Jack probably use any orbitals in this run. So yeah, that's one of the changes that has made me a little bit sad about the Repentance DLC, but overall it's still probably considered to be a great DLC.
Alright, Zamiel, can you explain what character we got and why we got it?
Yeah, so this is an interesting character, the character of Dark Judas. And Dark Judas is not normally a character you're supposed to start the run with. Oh, nice animation cancel, by the way.
Thank you.
He canceled the item
Pickup
animation with the card, yeah. And that just saved about a second or so very nicely done. But this dark, as I was saying before, this Dark Judas character, it's not normally a starting character, but it is one of the lineup in this custom category. Oh, nice bomb usage too.
Ooh, nice.
Thank you.
And oh my god, that was such a sick battle bomb. Oh my god. So, just demolished him.
Hey, you can one-shot pin like that.
So normally the Dark Judas character is only accessible from the item Judas's Shadow. But yeah, we just thought it would be fun to have him start as a normal character here. So that's kind of the idea. We want, when I'm choosing the 7 characters that will be in the lineup, I want to choose some powerful characters and some weak characters so that it's kind of like an interesting lineup. And people complain that the lineup this year, or this season, was really weak. And so we needed a strong character, and so I figured, what the heck, let's put in the strongest character of them all, Dark Judas.
Yeah, Dark Judas has a high damage multiplier, and we got Magic Mush, which is another damage multiplier. So you can see that Jack already has 17 damage. The only drawback for Dark Judas probably is HP management. Since he cannot get any red heart containers, you are solely relying on soul hearts and black hearts, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to take as many devil items as possible if you find good ones.
And that's another actually change that happened in the Repentance DLC. Prior to Repentance, Dark Judas did not have that restriction. He could take red hearts. So it's kind of a thematic change, I guess you could say. A lore change.
Y'all saw me place that bomb on those mushrooms back there? The reason is because when you blow up those little like cosmetic mushrooms on the ground, there's a small chance to get magic mush as a reward. But I walked away and didn't let the bomb explode because I realized I already have magic mush.
Yeah.
But if we did get it, it'd be such a cool moment.
We could get mini mush, but it's pretty unlikely. It's a 1% chance.
Yeah. Oh,
Fun fact, I was actually the person who discovered the percentages back in 2013 or so. Oh, nice. So Jack just barely walking away with surviving. He was able to, because the item called the Mark gives you a soul heart, he was able to spend all of his remaining health on the Mark, and then he was healed for a soul heart, so he didn't end up dying. So very nice pickup there.
Yeah, but even if the Mark didn't heal him, Jack would have been able to just press spacebar and use the nail, which would also give him a half a black heart, which would also be enough to survive taking the Devil on 0 HP. You're probably going to see this happen because, as we said earlier, Dark Judas is very low on HP, but the nail is going to allow him to take more Devil items now.
Yeah, the nail just a fantastic pickup for Jack. This run will now go much more smoothly, I feel.
Zamiel, can you touch on the D6 as well?
Oh yeah, and one important thing that we haven't talked about yet is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, we see the item called the D6, and every character gets that as a pocket item, which means it's like bound to the Q button on your keyboard. And the D6 is probably the most important item that players get. It is the cornerstone of strategy for this game, and what it does is it allows you to re-roll an item that's on the ground to be a different item. So the basics of it is some items are bad, and you got to know the bad items and the good items, and you roll the bad ones for a chance at getting a new item that's potentially better. But it's actually in practice, it actually ends up being a lot more complicated than that, because how it actually works is that you have to know how current items will synergize with your build. So it's not just an item is good or bad. Will this item specifically synergize with my build in a good way? And now it becomes a lot more nuanced. Like it becomes unsure. Like what are all of the possible items I could get? Like what is the average expected value based on my current build? And so that's kind of where the beauty of speedrunning this game comes in. You really have to have a lot of knowledge, and there's a lot of thinking involved in the decisions involving the D6 item.
With as many items that's in the game, just having that knowledge is mind-blowing for someone watching a speedrun take place.
Well, yeah, because there's like 750 items.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to know not only what all 750 items do, but how they interact with each other, right? Like, will this item be good on my build? How will it interact with my build? What are the key players? How will the key items work together? So yeah, it definitely takes many hours to get to kind of fill up your brain with all the necessary knowledge required in order to speedrun the game, even play it casually, to be perfectly frank.
And that's one of the most fun parts. Is say you don't know everything about the game, and then something crazy will happen, and everything's just like chaotic and exciting, and you can't explain what's going on.
So that's a really cool pickup. So the core item I would say that Jack had was called the Twisted Pair, which is what allowed him to get kind of like the little follower following him, giving him additional firepower. And now on top of that, he just picked up the item called Incubus, which gives him yet another follower that shoots even more tears. And so now he has kind of like a little follower army that has like very, very powerful shots. So this, I guess you could call this like a very strong follower run, which is cool. Yeah, it's really fun seeing as Jack goes through all 7 characters, each of the
What?
and now he has size.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's really cool watching the different kinds of builds that Jack gets over the course of the speedrun. And so now this is a death touch run. That's what's giving the size, the scythe tears.
Oh yeah, this item grants piercing. So beforehand, my tears would just hit an enemy and then stop traveling. But now I can hit multiple enemies with one tear.
And that's going to help him out on the last end boss called the Lamb, which he will be getting to shortly. A small little bit of a compass troll there. Kind of unfortunate.
Oh.
Also only on 2 HP, but with the nail, it should be enough. I don't want to jinx anything, but I believe in Jack.
Okay, so we're at 50 minutes on the 6th character. So I have 10 minutes left to hit the sub 1 hour.
It all depends on the starting item for Eve. So the last character is going to be Eve, and we're going to get to that shortly. But let's see the starting item.
It's pretty good.
All right. We have
So the
technology.
starting item.
Yeah, you can do
Go.
it.
So this is actually 2 starting items, and the reason is because just starting with technology does not give you like a damage up. So it needs kind of something to go along with it in order to get the speedrun going. And Lump of Coal has a multiplicative synergy with technology. And so that's why those 2 items kind of pair really well together, which is why the mod gives both.
Nice.
So the strategy with regular Eve is that you kind of want your HP to be at maximum of 1 full red heart. The soul hearts you can have as many as you want, but you don't want more than 1 full red heart, because then you get a huge damage and speed up. Early on it's going to be easy to do that because Eve also starts with the Razor, and every time you use the Razor you take red heart damage and you get a small damage boost for the room, so it's going to be easy to manage your red HP. But along the run, if Jack ever finds a better active item, he has to keep in mind that it's going to be harder to regulate your HP and keep your effects broken for the extra damage.
Oh, huge pickup. The Brimstone is exactly what you want to see in that Devil Deal.
Yep.
Oh, very nice. And Jack has an extra key so you can get into Dross 2 and have a... So this is exactly why he goes into Dross. Look at how short this floor is. He only had to clear 2 rooms, and now he's right at the boss. And so that is the advantage of using the key and going into Dross.
Also, the Brimstone just has a crazy synergy with the technology and the coal that we discussed earlier. So as you can see, it adds a little laser around the Brimstone, which deals even more damage. And the coal, as explained earlier, just adds even more damage if you keep your range to your enemies.
Yeah, I believe it's a flat +1. With the Lump of Coal synergy with Brim. Or sorry, I meant the technology.
The technology, yeah.
It's a multiplier.
Yeah, so the Lump of Coal is a multiplier, yes.
Heck makes it like Cricket's head too. Heck Brim. It's a 50% multiplier.
Yeah, very
So now that the
nice.
build is already this strong, where you don't have any troubles defeating enemies, the best items you can find are either a shovel to skip floors, or maybe even an undefined for the same reason, or the teleporter that we saw earlier.
Ooh.
But other
Boss
than
is really
that,
far away.
more damage is always nice, but you can only kill enemies this fast. So Jack really wants to find a way to travel through the floors faster.
So as Jack makes his way through the depths, we can talk a little bit about the last time this game was run at AGDQ, which was back in 2020 by Stone Age Marcus. And that one was actually before the Repentance DLC was released. So you could think of that as essentially an entirely different version of the game. Besides adding a bunch of different new items and other content, yeah, like a lot of things changed in the game. So if you guys are interested in Isaac speedruns, you can also go check out that run too.
We can see on the map here again that there's a special room that we've only seen one other time during this run, and that was the planetarium we saw before. But since it's so far out of the way, we're probably not going to go to it because there's very little benefit from it.
Also, you have no keys anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, this should be a fast run, especially with the backstabber now.
Yeah.
If we
Is
don't get...
Backstabber even synergized with like this build?
Yeah. They made there was some patch, they made Backstabber a really, really good item now.
Yeah, we're gonna see it against the boss probably. Yeah. The effect.
Yeah, the Satanic Bible is going to be keeping Jack really healthy. Gonna keep him filled up with some black hearts, which is good. Oh, another compass troll. That is too bad.
Oh, and in the recent Isaac news, they announced a online co-op that they're currently beta testing. But it's still really exciting that after all these years, they're still working on the game a little bit.
Yeah, that one doesn't. It doesn't have a dedicated release date yet. It's just going to be released when it's finished, and right now they're just letting people open beta test it. But yeah, it's pretty cool if you're into co-op.
And it's just one of those, like, the love that the Isaac community has for the game for as long as it's been out. I mean, I'm in a way not surprised that there's still DLC and new updates and everything for it. I mean, even in chat, just seeing how many people have been just coming out to see this run.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what you can do with this game even after you've like completed all the achievements. Like one route is to go and do speedruns, which a lot of people do, and it's also very exciting. And the other way you can do streaks, where you try to beat the game as many times with, like, for example, a specific character without dying in between and losing your streak.
Yeah, most people do Eden because that's kind of one of the most interesting characters since you start with random items each time, which makes it a little bit more fun.
Exactly, but at the moment we have the golden age of Tainted Lost streaks, which is considered the hardest character in the game, and everyone's trying to beat the world record at the moment.
Yeah, what is the world record for Tainted Lost right now?
It is 49 by two separate people.
Oh wow, interesting. So it's a tied world record.
Tied world record for 49.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
I recently hit a 43 Tainted Lost.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's pretty sad though.
How did you lose it?
How did I what?
How did you lose it?
It wasn't in basement 2 or 1.
I got hit twice in the same room, on the very first room.
Darn. Okay, so the speedrun's coming to a close now. Jack has amazingly powerful abilities, just melting all of these rooms. And another compass troll, unlucky. And so now he's actually going to try going the other way. So it looks like he might just finish within an hour. He has 2 minutes to go.
I earlier saw Jack backtrack for a card, which is a little bit unusual backtracking during a speedrun. But there is a really good card, it's called the Emperor card, which just teleports you straight to the boss. So if Jack would have found that card, he would have managed to skip this whole floor and save like 2 minutes or more.
Wow.
So it's always worth checking for cards.
Oh yeah, so it's looking like Jack will finish the run in under an hour. He's making it.
Just barely.
It's even faster than our practice run.
Nice.
And there it is.
GG.
Very nice. Yeah, let's see what that time is going to be. Probably about 59, 20-ish? 25-ish? Catching up right now. 59, 22.
Great.
GG's. Holy
Okay.
heck, that was so cool.
Can I just give a shout out to the whole Isaac community, all the streakers, all the speedrunners, everyone on Twitch and YouTube. Big shout out.
Yeah, and speaking of where can they find you? Plug yourself too.
All right, I stream Isaac pretty often, and it's just the same as you see on screen, Shxrpness.
And then the wonderful commentary that chat has been absolutely loving from all of you. Where can they find you?
And yeah, Toooschi is a streamer on Twitch. He streams all the time as well. You can
Yeah, I
find him
do. I do. At the moment, I focus on Tainted streaks as well. But probably, if you want to check out something from me, I would recommend to check out my blindfolded seeded run in Isaac. You can find it on my YouTube channel, which is the same name as you can see on the overlay.
And
Again,
I'm Zamiel. I don't really stream too much anymore, but if you're interested in Isaac speedrunning, just go to isaacracing.net, which is the website that I have built for the community, and it has links to Racing Plus in the Discord and all of that stuff. So yeah, isaacracing.net. Simple, easy. GG.